Every morning, I packed the kids' lunches, made coffee for my husband, and smiled like everything was fine. But that night, when my son said, "You don't even have a job," something inside me finally broke. My name's Laura Bennett. I'm 41, mother of twins, wife of a man who used to make me laugh. Before he started making me small, our mornings always looked the same. The twins fighting over cereal, Mark reading emails at the table like the world couldn't spin without his input, and me hovering between them, trying to keep the peace. He'd sip his coffee, nod toward the kids, and say, "Your mom's job is to make sure everything runs on time." That was his favorite line. Your mom's job, not your mom's life, not your mom's dreams, just her job. I used to tell myself it didn't matter, that every family has roles, and mine was just quieter. But deep down, it did matter. It mattered every time I saw my reflection in the kitchen window, hair tied back, apron on, eyes tired. I looked like someone waiting to be dismissed. When Mark and I got married, we were equals. I was a project manager at an engineering firm. I loved the challenge. Deadlines, teams, solving problems no one else could. When the twins came along, Mark said, "You should take a break, just for a year." That year stretched into 15. Mark became CFO of a logistics firm. He liked control, money, time, people, especially me. He handled every bill, every card, every login. I remember once asking for the password to our joint account. He laughed. Why? Planning to run away. He thought it was funny. I didn't. By year 10, he'd stopped pretending to respect me. When friends came over, he'd joke, "Laura's our household manager, unpaid, but efficient." Everyone laughed. So did I, because that's what you do when you've been trained to make everyone comfortable but yourself. I used to think I was doing it for the kids. That one day, they'd understand what love and sacrifice meant. But kids don't understand sacrifice. They understand what they see. And what my kids saw was a woman who took orders. The night Jack yelled, "You don't even have a job," I froze. The sound of his voice, the disgust in it. It wasn't really him. It was Mark. It was years of little comments, jokes, power plays, absorbed like poison. Mark didn't even look up from his laptop. "Told you," he muttered. "They notice everything." I sat there in silence. For the first time in years, I didn't cry. I just sat. The house was so quiet, I could hear the refrigerator hum. Later that night, after everyone went to bed, I walked into the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water, and stared out the window. I saw my reflection again. The same woman who'd once led a team of engineers, now reduced to laundry schedules and grocery lists. And then, something shifted. It wasn't dramatic. No screaming, no tears. Just a quiet, solid decision. Enough. I dug out my old laptop from the basement. It was dusty, slow, missing half its keys. I charged it overnight, like I was charging myself. The next morning, while Mark complained about his coffee being too cold, I opened my email for the first time in years. There it was, my old work contact list, my certifications, even a few recruiters I'd forgotten about. I sent one message, then 2, then 10. By the time the kids came home from school, I'd already scheduled my first interview in 15 years. Mark still thought I was planning dinner, but I was planning an escape, and he had no idea what was coming. For weeks, my house became 2 worlds. The one Mark saw, and the one I was secretly building. To him, nothing had changed. Breakfasts still happened on time. Laundry still folded itself. Dinner was still served at 6 sharp. But after he left for work and the kids went to school, I wasn't the same woman who wiped counters and made beds. I was a woman relearning the rhythm of purpose. I'd forgotten how intoxicating it felt to matter. The first interview was over Zoom. My heart pounded, like I was back in college defending my final project. The interviewer, a woman named Rachel, looked at my resume and raised an eyebrow. 15-year gap? She asked. I didn't flinch. I was managing 2 humans, a household, and a man who thought he was the boss, I said with a smile. She laughed. So, conflict resolution, crisis management, multitasking, time optimization, all in one? Exactly, I replied. By the end of the week, she called back. They wanted me for a contract role, project coordination, remote, modest pay, but it was mine. I didn't tell Mark. I didn't need his permission anymore. For the first time in years, I had a password he didn't know, a bank account he couldn't touch, and a calendar that didn't revolve around his schedule. During the day, I worked. During the evenings, I played the same old part, the obedient wife. He'd brag at dinner about his tough meetings, while I muted notifications from my own. Every ping of an email felt like a small act of rebellion. Every paycheck that hit my account was a quiet victory. By month 3, I'd been promoted to lead project coordinator. By month 6, I was earning more than I had before I quit. And by then, something else had changed too. The way I carried myself. I wasn't walking on eggshells anymore. I wasn't waiting for him to notice me. I'd stopped asking for his approval. And he noticed. "Why are you smiling so much lately?" he asked one night, suspicion flickering behind his eyes. "Just proud of my work," I said casually, setting his plate down. He chuckled. "What work? You mean the dishes?" I looked at him, really looked at him, and for the first time, I didn't see the man I'd married. I saw a man who'd built his confidence out of mine. "I mean the work that actually pays," I said softly. He froze, mid-bite. "What's that supposed to mean?" I smiled. "Nothing you'd understand." After that night, he started digging. I could tell by the way he hovered around my desk, asking too many questions. So, I became smarter. I worked from cafes, libraries, sometimes even from my car, with my laptop propped on the steering wheel. He thought he was losing control. And he was. The kids started noticing too. "Mom, you look different," Lily said one morning. I laughed. "Like what?" "Like you're not tired anymore," she said. That single sentence broke something open inside me. Not sadness, not guilt, but relief. For years, I thought I was teaching my children love by staying. But now, I realized, I was finally teaching them strength by leaving. And though I hadn't said the words yet, I'd already made the decision. I was leaving. Not just the house, not just the man, but the version of myself who'd believed her worth came from someone else's approval. Mark had no idea that the next time he tried to joke about my unpaid job, I'd be standing on the other side of the table, a woman who could buy her own table, and burn his entire illusion to the ground.
It started small, the shift in his tone. The way he said, "So where are you off to again?" with that too casual smirk. The way his eyes flicked over my phone when it buzzed. Mark was realizing something he'd never imagined. His wife had a life he wasn't invited to. One Thursday morning, he came downstairs earlier than usual, still in his robe, holding my laptop. "Didn't know you were freelancing," he said, scrolling through my emails like he owned them. My stomach tightened, not from fear, but from fury. "I wasn't freelancing," I said. "I'm employed. Full-time, with benefits." He blinked. "You got a job?" "Yes." "And you didn't tell me?" His voice cracked, somewhere between disbelief and insult. I leaned on the counter, calm. "You didn't ask," he scoffed, pacing. "You're unbelievable." "After everything I've done for you," I cut him off. You mean after everything you did to me? He froze. Years of swallowed words spilled out like floodwater. You kept me at home like a servant and called it love. You laughed at me in front of our kids. You made me think depending on you was safety. Mark's jaw clenched. You're overreacting. I gave you a good life. I stepped closer. No, Mark. You gave me a cage and called it comfort. The silence that followed was heavier than any fight we'd ever had. He finally said, "So what now? You think you're better than me because you have a paycheck?" I smiled. No, because I finally have freedom. For a long moment, he just stared, like he was seeing me for the first time. Then he laughed bitterly. "You'll come crawling back." They always do. I didn't respond. I just walked past him, grabbed my keys, and left for work. That night, when I came home, he was sitting at the table with the kids, pretending nothing had happened. Dinner was tense, silent, like a scene from a play we'd both outgrown. After the kids went to bed, he said quietly, "I looked up your company." I didn't even flinch. "And? You're doing well." "I am." He swallowed hard. "How much are they paying you?" "Enough," I said. "Enough for what?" "Enough to leave." The words landed like a hammer. He blinked, stunned, then forced a laugh. "You're not serious." I met his eyes. Dead serious. He stood abruptly. "You're not taking my kids?" "They're our kids," I said, "and I'm not taking them anywhere. I'm just not staying in a house where their father mocks their mother for existing." He opened his mouth to argue, but for once there was nothing left to say, because deep down he knew. The woman he used to control wasn't sitting at that table anymore. She'd already left. Long before she packed a single box. It's funny, when you finally stop begging for respect, people start realizing how much power you had all along. The next morning, I woke up before dawn, like I used to back in my engineering days. Except this time, I wasn't making breakfast or folding uniforms. I was packing, not everything, just what mattered. My degree, my laptop. A photo of Jack and Lily at the beach before everything got complicated. When Mark came downstairs, the coffee machine was still warm, but my ring wasn't on the counter anymore. "Laura," he said slowly, like my name was a question he didn't know how to answer. "Where are you going?" I zipped the last suitcase. "To a place where I don't have to ask permission to breathe," he scoffed. "You're making a mistake." I smiled, calm. So was staying this long. He didn't follow me to the door. He didn't apologize. He just stood there. A man who finally realized control isn't the same as love. The next few months were brutal and beautiful. I rented a small apartment near downtown, started taking the kids on weekends, and poured myself into work. Every deadline met, every project led, every room I walked into, people listened. My boss called me one day after a big presentation. "Laura, you ever think about leading your own department?" I laughed softly. "I already do. I just didn't have the title yet." By the end of that year, I had my own office, my own team, and, for the first time in 15 years, my own bank account. Jack and Lily came over one Friday night. Jack helped me hang shelves while Lily decorated them with fairy lights. When dinner was ready, Jack looked up from his plate and said, "Mom, you seem different." I smiled. "Better or worse?" "Better," he said. "Like you're happy." And that was it. The validation I'd been craving for years. Not from a husband, not from society, but from my kids. Months later, Mark called. His voice was softer now. "Laura, I was wrong." I didn't need to say it. He already knew. but I said it anyway. Yes, you were, he sighed. The kids really look up to you. I paused, then said, good. They should, because that's what this was always about. Not revenge, not ego, not punishment. It was about showing my kids what real strength looks like. Not the kind that controls, the kind that rebuilds. Today, I still wake up early. I still make coffee the same way, 1 sugar, 2 creams. But now I sip it in peace on a balcony that overlooks the city I conquered. The same woman who once sat in the dark, questioning her worth, now signs contracts worth millions in her own name. If you're reading this, thinking it's too late to start again, it's not. Sometimes the biggest victory isn't leaving someone behind. It's finally coming home to yourself,